We've almost got these new intros ready. We're almost there.
This has been going for like 20 hours. This ends now.
Hey everyone, how are you doing? Emma, good to see you here. Troy, good to see you here. Leo, good to see you here. Priya, good to see you here. We got two Emmas? Whoa! Right now, we got 40% Emmas in the chat. It is 40% Emma and 1% Mewbot. Mewbot is here. Let's go. We got Troy here. We got Sarah here. We got Michaela here. We got Andrew here. Let's go ahead and give out some points. Add plus users, 500 points. Andrew, great to see you here. We're going to get started up here in just a second. Who wants to do some pivot stuff? Great name, Emma says right there. My hair's been all crazy lately. I'm not used to being short hair, Brian. I will get used to it eventually. Who wants to do some pivot assignment? Lily, great to see you. Barrett, great to see you. Emma, well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Do we have a third Emma? I thought we had a third Emma. I was like, no way. All the Emmas are here. Everyone's here. Emma's here. Emma's here. Emma's here. We're going to get the pivot. For some reason, oh, that's why. I didn't know you can move your cards on Canvas. I've been teaching in Canvas for like 7 years. I didn't know you can move around your cards. Hopefully, I've got my cards organized correctly. We're going to get the pivot assignment up here and going. So say hey in the chat if you haven't. Barrett, great to see you. No way I just missed the 500. What? Barrett, here's another 100. I had a question about the exam. If I filled out the form with the automatic make the test, won't automatically. Cameron, good question right there. It won't automatically. It will. I will be changing it. Like I will go in and change it this weekend. So go and fill out that form. Change the date or change the time. Change the time. Don't change the date. We're getting the pivot assignment up here and going. Do I have the pivot data open? Now I'm going to use a slightly different data set. I'm going to use a slightly different data set. I think this is the one we're using. I'm going to use, right? Okay. Let's go ahead. You're welcome, Barrett. Anytime. Who's ready for pivot? I need some I'm raising the chat. I'm going to take a stretch. I'm going to drink some coffee. Who's ready for some pivots in the chat? Who's ready to pivot over there to pivots? Get the screen up and going. We'll take a nice new timestamp. Delete off all the old timestamps. Me, Leo's right there. Awesome. Pivot assignment. Instructions. Let's head over to the main screen, do some pivot. Emma and Leo's ready. Let's do this. I'm raising the chat. Okay. So the number one thing to know when doing any assignment is you should always look at the what to guide you. What should you always look at? Chat, just go crazy for those 100 points. We're going to throw out a bunch of 100 points. What should you look at to guide you when doing the assignment? Like if you're like, am I doing this correctly? Am I doing the things I need to do? Am I going to get those points? The rubric right there. Michael knows and Troy knows and Barrett knows. You got it. Look at the rubric. Who's been getting, I want some capital me's in the chat. If you've been getting 10 out of 10s because you've been looking at that rubric and been saying, did I include my name? Do I have a screenshot of my first pivot? Do I have the criteria? Now, this is a big one right here. This is a big one. Some me's right there. Get those 10 out of 10s. Make sure you follow each thing that says. Read the top criteria. This is the one that's going to matter right here most to you. Great job. Look at that right there. So if you're not getting those 10 out of 10s, I want you to go in and read these right here verbatim. I could read them off too. We're going to be basically following these instructions. Please tell me if I ever miss anything. Like if someone's like, wait, Brian, you forgot to do this. It's rare, but sometimes I'll forget something. So you want to go in and read these and double check when you create yours that you're doing these things like appropriate screenshots and such, and going in here, but do a final check. I know it's a lot, but it's like a check to be like, did I do this? The graders literally go in and click these buttons. This is how it is when we're grading it. We literally have buttons to click, and we go through and we click the buttons, 1,000 times. I'm just going to keep saying that. And you will then get your grade. Okay, so you are going to be working with this data set. Let's go ahead and download this data set right here. And you are making how many pivot charts? How many pivot charts are you making? Chat, just go crazy again. You should kind of understand what you're doing right here. And we are doing this lecture on Monday for our class. You're making 2 pivot charts. And here's the thing. Are you making pivot charts or are you making pivot tables? In the chat, we're just going to keep throwing out points. Make sure you know this. We're giving a lot of huge hints right here. You know what? maybe we'll just do that first one. I said I'd do some really awesome stuff in this. I'll do that first one for you, and then we'll talk about your second one, which is more of your own innovation. So I said I'd do some really big help in this. So you know what? We'll just kind of do that first one. Maybe just don't tell anybody. Not that this is recorded, but who would like that? Chat. Would you like Brian to do the first one directly? Should Brian do the first one directly? Here, yes or no. Let's see what chat says. Mommy's saying yes right there. I would like that, Brian. I would enjoy that, Brian says right there. We're like, yeah, let's just don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. The biggest thing is to understand what we're doing and why. And we're going to make those pivot assignments. We're going to do that pivot stuff. Oh, tomorrow. Cool. Oh, wow. I need to send an email about that. Let me think. I'm going to find something really, really quick. I got a question about the YouTube channel. And so we're going to start here in just a second. But with year 2, someone's wondering, there's a lot of really crazy, interesting stuff. Lifetime. Last quick question right before we get started. Who knows how many views our channel has gotten in the lifetime? One. Okay. And then, so someone was asking that important. So let's do that first one. If you know how many, take a guess. I wonder what people's guesses are. I shouldn't give away hints, but let's go. Okay, here we go. Let's put a timestamp here. We're going to start with the first. We have 1.4 million. 1.4 million, Roan. We made a 1 million video about a year ago, or maybe it was a year and a half ago. We made a video and we hit 1 million, and we've been going since 2014. So we're on like year 8 or 9. 1.4 million. I just pulled that up. Someone messaged. So here's the analytics from the channel. Oh, wait. Oh, no. So it's 1.4 million rounded up. I actually grabbed this number. 1.4 million right there. And then here's all the watch times and hours. So this is why I'm okay with people seeing these things. I do give away, this is over the lifetime of the channel. Do realize this is since, like 2014. But that's why, who knows what's going to be Monday? So this is a big advertisement right here. What do we have coming up Monday? Who knows what's coming up Monday? Is it Monday? I sent out the announcement. There's an advertisement for the upcoming thing Monday. What's coming up Monday, which there are prizes for the winners of it. Who knows what's coming up here Monday? Coming up Monday is what? Quick advertisement. What is coming up here Monday? And then we're going to start that first one. Coming up here Monday, the Kahoot. So here you see on Monday, we have the exam one. So if you would like, go ahead and, we already got 3 likes. I already liked it. So Kahoot, go here, remind yourself of this. There are prizes for this. I believe we sent out that we're doing $30 first prize, $20 second prize, and $10 third prize. I do Kahoots for all the classes and usually give out about $50 or $60. There's a few of those a semester. So join in. It's going to be Monday, right? That's the 27th. Oh, it's Sunday? Sunday. Is that Sunday? Sunday. Maddie, you know what? We already give out 500 points. Let's give out another 500 points. It does say Sunday. I was debating Sunday or Monday. It is Sunday. And also your time is 7 p.m. This is my time. So quick advertisement right there for the Sunday Kahoots. Sunday. Okay, I'm going to stop being crazy. Okay, let's head over to the main screen. Here we go. Time for that first pivot chart. What do you need to do while Brian is taking the note right here? You should go and get the what to follow along with Brian right here. What should you go and get to follow along with Brian right here? What do you need to go and get as we go and get this timestamp right here for the first pivot chart? First pivot chart, Brian shows how our full walkthrough. What should you go and have open on your computer right now? The rubric, and also, this is data I'll use for the second one, you should also get the data right here. So go ahead and go grab that data right there. We've got the first pivot chart ready to go. Yeah, Emma, great answers right there. We've got the rubric and the data. So go ahead and grab the rubric, the data, have it open in Excel. You want to make sure you have Excel installed on your computer. This is completely free through UT. So through UT, you can just get access to Excel, to Microsoft Office. Make sure you've got this on your computer right here. If you don't have it, go to Outlook, and it should have the download. And if you have any questions, let us know. So as soon as you see you don't have Excel, and if you can't find it, reach out to us and say, hey, I can't get Excel on my computer. Like, what's going on? And we'll help you install Excel. get a lot of emails like at 11 p.m. saying I don't have Excel. So don't let that be you. If you don't see that you have Excel right now, email us, reach out on the Discord, and then we can get it fixed up pretty quickly. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to communicate and to get it downloaded. So if you don't have Excel, reach out quickly. So a little bit of review about what's going on with pivot charts right here. The number one thing for pivot charts is if somebody's going to answer a question, this is one of those, you know it's about to happen right here. Teaching to the test moments. If we're asking people if they broke a bone, what's the problem with this right here? What would be the problem with this right here? See, it doesn't even want me to do that. What is Excel going to do when it sees capital Y, lowercase y-e-s, capital Y, lowercase e-s, capital Y-e-s? What's Excel going to do with all this right here, which is a problem? This is just a review of when we do pivot charts, how our data should look. Because sometimes you have to make your data. You're not always given the data to make a pivot chart. So what's the problem with this? Exactly, Aaron right there, great answer. Capitalization needs to be consistent as we make pivot charts. It'll register it as different. Yeah, Troy right there, you got it. It'll see it as different things. It doesn't know that those are the same thing. We know that. Those are all yeses and nos. But we are smarter than Excel. So with this, we need consistency in how we input data. So a very important thing right there, but we give you the data. So you get the advantage of not having to worry about the consistency. So here we go. You ready? To do this, we have quantitative variables and categorical variables. We also have an identifier. So reviews of identifiers, categorical, quantitative, categorical, quantitative. And we're going to go in here and hit Control or Command A. Has everyone hit Control or Command A? I need some yes or no's in chat. I'm going to try to go slowly. Remember, you can pause this video. You can rewind this video, even live. Hit Control or Command A. You should see everything selected. Someone's like going between their window right now. They're like, okay, I got this selected. Yes. Let's see if everyone's got that. So you should go in here and hit Control or Command A. Boop. There we go. Works on both Mac and PC. I think we're good. And now we're going to go to the Insert tab right here. We're going to go to Pivot Table. Rowan, great job right there. We're going to go to Pivot Table. And now it's actually got everything already set up. You can choose different options, but I just go with what is available. Since I've already selected my data with Control A or Command A on a Mac, I am now good to go. I'm going to do it in a new worksheet. I like to work in new worksheets so I can kind of just organize and keep everything by itself. And I click OK, and here we are. So you should be on this screen right here. You should have Insert Pivot Table, and we're on this screen. Now let me ask, when I make this pivot table, this is what I'm going to turn in. I'm going to make a pivot table. Will this be what I'm turning in, yes or no? So will I make a pivot table and turn in the pivot table? So once again, to look at the assignment, this is a mistake people make. Am I going to turn in the pivot table? Aaron right there, 100 points, correct. We are going to make a pivot chart, but you have to go through the pivot table to turn your pivot table into a pivot chart. It's kind of like, let's make a table, and then let's make a graphic from the table. So what we make here, you do not turn in. I wish I could have some blinking text appear on the screen like saying, do not turn in the table. A lot of people are going to screenshot their table and might lose points. We actually suggest the graders take off points. So if you don't get points taken off by including this in your screenshot, the graders were nice. Sometimes they are nice. We don't remove points when they're nice. So the first thing it wants us to do right here is it wants us to make a pivot chart where we are displaying the weekly hours worked. Now, there's an important terminology we need to know right here. The terminology we need to know is going to be right here, the values field. Have a wild guess at what the values field does. It's the what we are displaying. Just tell me the values field is the what we are displaying. Just think about what the values field, just come up with a way of remembering, what does the value field do? It's the what we are displaying. The value field would be think about how to describe it. The value field, like the best thing we can always do is put things in our memory. The numbers or the values we are displaying, right? The value field tells you the values you are displaying. So just use like almost like a tautology, like the values field, like circular reasoning almost. The values field is the value you are displaying. I want to understand weekly hours work, so I will see those values. Now, the value field also has a what? I just want to hear the one word for this. The value field also has a what? The value field also has a what? Just one word. the value field also has a what? Because we can just choose the way it is displayed. The value field also has a what right here, which is very important to what we'll do with our pivot chart. Setting, it has a setting. Great job right there, Troy and Leo. It has a setting. So with the setting, let's go ahead and click it, and let's change the way we are displaying the value. So this is the setting to how we are displaying the value. We could display the maximum. This is weekly hours worked. Did you know that somebody worked 50 hours? Well, that's a lot. It's a lot. That's a lot of work. What do you think the minimum is? So the minimum hours people worked, this is the minimum of everybody, is 0. Pretty obvious right there. And then also, we can also, which is very important for us, display the average. So this is the average hours worked. So here's what we need to do next. What does this mean? Like, this is University of Tennessee students. Just interpret this value to me. Try to write just one quick sentence. Do not write this in your report, but let's just understand what we're seeing right now. Like, what have we found? We have found what? Like, what does this mean? Because we shouldn't think of this as just magic. Be like, oh, that's telling me this right now. What does this communicate to us? Remember, that's the average for UT students. Boom, Barrett right there. Keep getting those 100 points. On average, students work 7.9 hours, or roughly 8 hours. I like that right there, Rome. If I'm talking to someone, I'm going to say roughly 8 hours. But watch this. Click the value and go to home. So click the value. I'm going to repeat the steps. I don't want to do anything too quickly. Please tell me if I go too quickly. Click the value, go to home, and click the following button. It's below the font. This is the decrease decimal format button. So now I am decreasing the decimals down to 2 decimals. Yeah, weekly. Great job, Eric, right there, yeah? And so now I have an easier to look at format. And if you do it at this point, your whole table will be formatted this way. So if you do it now, right here, every value in the table will have a 2 decimal formatting from here forward. So I highly suggest clicking the value, going to home, and then decreasing the decimals till you get something you want. You could do 1 or 2 for this. It makes sense to like this is an average, so maybe about 7.91. Someone who's very particular might do 3 decimals, but if you have something like this, that's going to lose points. Most people here are taking Are they? They might be. I do not know, Leo. Good question. So I like that much. Yeah, exactly. It's much easier. That's the point of it, Troy. We're here to communicate information, and that's a better way to display it. So, Troy, great job. Great answers. We're just trying to make this look nice for everybody. I don't know, Leo. Good questions. So now let's go ahead and look at the rest of what it wants us to do and show the differences between gender and student loans. So this is going to be how we are dividing it up. We're dividing it up by gender, and we're dividing it up by student loans. So these will be the 2 kind of rows and columns. So over here, we have the columns and we have the rows. Now, one thing you can do is you can actually search. You might not have to zoom out so you can see it, but you can actually search up here for the variable. I always forget that, and take it and just drag and drop it. Now, the way you put it in the rows or the columns will divide it different ways. It's like cutting, your pizza like into those little triangles or cutting it into squares. Like which way you want to do it, there's no wrong way to do this, but it's just going to look different by the way you do it. So I think it says we want gender, we want student loans. Now I do want to point to some stuff for the Mac people. I often see this issue with Mac people, so I'm going to try to make sure I mention every sort of issue you could have. If you see where does anyone see blank right now? Type yes in the chat if it says blank over here. Sometimes people will get, especially on Macs, I've seen where it says blank. And I want to show you once again, I'll show you the table. It should be oriented this way. It can also be oriented this way. It's fine. Might be, I don't know. I'll make a decision when I see the pivot chart on the which way I want it, but either which way is fine. Just make sure to divide by student loans and gender. Good. No people. Oh wait, Maddie might be saying, oh no, that was for the previous question. But if you are seeing blank, if you are seeing where it says blank, go up to here under the arrow, and you should see you can uncheck blank. Now, don't do that. I did, but I fixed it. Exactly. Great job right there, Aaron. That's another way to fix it. It looks like you can also uncheck where it says blank right here. So you just want to make sure you remove those. You don't want to see those. So mine doesn't have that issue, but if yours does, check this. This is the option to filter. So if you have to filter things, you can filter here for the variables you're using. Or you can add to filter something else. Like maybe we only want in-state students, so we could do born in Tennessee or some sort of in-state thing and filter based on that. So filtering allows you to remove out certain groups you want, filter them out, but you can also filter on variables in your table by these down arrows. And if you have a blank right here, please do remove it. Your table should look something like this right here, pretty much verbatim because we're doing the exact question. So now that we have this, we have constructed our pivot table. So let's put a note right here, making the first pivot chart. Once again, do not turn in this table. We're going to click inside of it, and then we're going to go to Design, or wrong. We're going to go to Pivot Table Analyze and go to Pivot Chart. So I usually just click the first one right here. There's about a billion ways to do this, but I do it pretty much consistently the same way. We're just going to click Pivot Table Chart right there, and then we're going to click OK, and there we go. Now, what's the problem with this? You're presented with this on a test. If you've watched any of the reviews or you've done it in your class, what would be a problem with this? Maybe the test question says, what's a suggestion you could make to this to improve this pivot chart? What is a suggestion you could make to this? I'm going to zoom out here a little bit and move it over here because I'm going to screenshot it eventually. What is a suggestion you could make to this? Oh yeah, here, I'll do it again while we think about suggestions. So here's the steps again, Priya. Thank you for asking. So the steps are click inside the table, go to Pivot Table Analyze, and then go to Pivot Table Chart, or Pivot Chart right up here. Then go to OK. Troy, good answer right there. And then I'm just moving it to kind of put it into a spot where I can look at only it. Because remember, we're only really caring about this right now. Just making it so it's the only thing we can see on the screen, really. Troy says we can't see the values exactly. I agree with you, Troy. Imagine you presented this to somebody. So if we were to go over here, and we were to take a screenshot of it. So imagine this is your report. I'm about to show you a report right here. You ready? Here's your report. Would this communicate something to people? What would you understand what this graphic's telling you right now? Someone just says, here's my report. We'll be adding those in here in a second, Priya. Good question. Here's my report. You'd say, what are you trying to tell me? So how about we add in a title. It's missing a title. We add in what else? Access titles. Great answers right there, Barrett. Access titles. We add in values. I'm trying to think if there's anything else, but we should probably add in those things, right? So we should add in these things right here. You would get a general idea, but not know the exact numbers exactly, or the context. What does all data need? If this is on the test, which sometimes it is, everyone should be like, oh, all data needs what? I'm going to fall forward out of my chair. All data needs what? All data needs context. Leo knows right there. All data needs context. So we need to give the context to this. Okay, let's go give it some context. Now, I'll do it the Mac way, or I'll do it the PC and Mac way. The PC way can always do the Mac way. The Mac way sometimes is a little bit, I don't know why they made it a little bit different. But go here and go to Design, and then go to Quick Layout and click this one. Everyone's is going to look a lot like mine now. But go here to this and click the following. This under Quick Layout, so I'm currently paused on the screen where you need to click Design, Quick Layouts, and then the second row, second column. And this one gives you most everything you need, except it doesn't have a what. This gives you, and I'll show again where it's at, so over here under this tab, this gives you pretty much everything you need, except it does not have a what. And you can choose different formats, just make sure it has these elements we're about to talk about. So what is it missing? Can you identify? I don't see, click on the chart. Sarah, thank you for asking. If you don't see design, make sure you're clicked on the chart and then it opens up new tabs. It's kind of weird. I didn't know that for a long time. I was like, I don't see it either. And then when you click on the chart itself, it actually dynamically puts on new tabs for you. Sarah, thank you for, whoa, what have I done? You can do that technically if you wanted. So make sure you are clicked on the chart and then you will see it open up the new tabs. Does that make sense right there, Aaron? If you don't see design, make sure you're clicked on the chart. So you notice how I don't see design right now. If you're clicked on the table, you'll see the following options. And then if you click on the chart, you see the chart options up here. So it should dynamically do that. Make sure you're using Excel on the PC, like the native PC version. Make sure to download that from Outlook if you do not have Excel on your PC. JK found it. Oh, awesome. Yep. Yeah, click the extra arrows. Oh, there might be like a tab over thing if you have it in a smaller window. So if you have the window kind of downsized, you might have to like tab over on the right. I think that's what you're saying, Aaron, right? Aaron, we're throwing out some 200 points for you. I appreciate you helping out and explaining because everyone might be seeing things. Oh, yep. So go to here under design, and then the quickest one to do it is this right here. And then what is this missing? So here's where to go again, Sarah. What is this missing? So what is this missing? I've got it paused on which one I pick. Who knows what this is missing right now? So think about what we need, and then what is this missing? So what do we need, and what is this missing? So if this was on the test, you'd be like, oh, that's missing a blank right now. You would see me like, psh, it's missing a this. Great job, Aaron, right there. What is this missing down here on the bottom? Let's look at the options. We can go to add chart elements. We can go to this, and it's missing a what? It's missing an axis title. So the axes kind of titles. You notice how and here I am under the same options we're under, axis title, primary horizontal, and X axis title. So the horizontal, the X axis title. Great job, Najee, right there. Excellent work. So, yep, missing the X axis title. Now let's go in and start editing these and make them look all awesome. So we're going to go here, and we're going to call this, it's student loans, right? That's student loans, yes, no. And this is average weekly hours work. Sure, that's good right there. It's all about getting it exactly the way you want it. And over here, I'm going to double check. It says we need to give it a title. Prepared by your name needs to be on the bottom. Okay. Oh, and then we do have everything. Okay, we'll take a look at this here in a moment. Make sure. Pretty sure everything. Prepared by your name. Prepared by Brian Stevens. Don't put that. Don't put that. Just everyone understand you're not going to put prepared by Brian Stevens. If you put that, they're going to wonder. And they're going to say, Brian, did you send students the work? And I said, no, I did not. They just wrote that no. So average weekly hours worked by gender and student loans. And I'm going to go slightly bigger because I don't like it when it wraps like that. Does this look like a decent display? Let's compare to our previous one and use Command-Shift-4 or snipping tool to take a picture. How much more professional does our graphic look going from the first graphic up top to the one down below? How much better have we done? What do you think? So we have it, we've reoriented it a little bit. We have axis titles. Like if you were only presented with this information, you would at least know male, female right here. Where down here, you can see the values for them. You also have a title. So it's way superior when you think about it with the information you're presented with. You know who created it. You know what the yes and no represents right here. You know the values for both the female no and the male no, and the female yes and the male yes. And so we see this right here. Now, when we write the report, I'm not going to write the report for everyone, but this is what we should be getting to. And to create images like this, inverse plagiarism. And this is where, okay, when writing your report, 1, always mention values in any report. So we're always going to make the case by mentioning values. Frankly, there are probably around 7 or 8 values to mention right here. We have, what do we have right here? We have these 4 values, but we could also kind of talk about not just these 4 values. What could we talk about with these values right here? We could talk about what with these values, not just, so I'm trying to figure out how many, I'm just kind of drawing here how many ideas I could talk about. I could talk about those values, or I could also talk about their whats. Their differences. Rowan, great answer is right there. I could talk about the differences between them. So I've got, you know, this value, this value, this value, this value. The difference is here, the difference is here, the difference is here, the difference is here. So there's 8 things to talk about if you want. Similarities and differences, exactly. So when we're talking about the values, we probably want to mention things like the highest and lowest, the differences between groups, things we find interesting. So I am not right. So try to write 3 through 5 sentences. Here's the thing. If you write 3 sentences and your 3 sentences are females had 7.8 with no, males had 6.76 with no, females had 9.11 with yes, and that's your 3 sentences, you'll probably lose points. Does everyone understand right here? Like, not all 3 sentences are made equally. So the better your sentences are that are communicating the ideas, maybe you don't need to write as many sentences, because then you write this sentence that's like, whoa, that really communicates a lot of information to us. What you want to do is you want to pretend someone cannot see the graphic. If someone could not see your graphic, what would you tell them with your ability to see the graphic? Well, one of the biggest things I see, and I'll only talk about this one thing with the graphic, and then the rest is on you. One of the biggest things I see is this going on right here. Who can help explain what I'm seeing right here, which is more globally this idea right here? That sort of global idea. The biggest differences I see, which gotta watch this when I do plagiarism checking, because I'm probably gonna hear a lot of similar things on this, like starting off. What is the biggest thing that just jumps out to me visually right here, speaking? And so I don't want to say too much, but visually, what's the biggest thing I see? What do you think? And then start to quantify that distance. Not that more people. Good answers, Leo. And thank you, Leo and Priya and Troy right there. It's not that more people. These are the averages for individuals. This is like the females who do have student loans report on average that they work 9.11 hours a week. Does that make sense? And so we are seeing that too. Alonzo, great answers, Alonzo. And then the big difference I see is the kind of, I don't want to say too much. I'm not going to mention too many values. I just don't want to make it so someone literally writes exactly what I say. But people are saying this difference right here, which is going to be seen by these numbers. Does that make sense? You can subtract the actual values, but I'm seeing something that is like a difference that it looks to be consistent, that you can also kind of see it by the number line. Anyone else notice this difference I'm talking about right here? Can anyone tell me? And on average, exactly. It's not that all females do, it's that on average and comparatively to males, like both groups comparatively, and that is a difference. But the biggest differences we do see are observed between the students who have loans and don't have loans. I've already said too much. So make sure to mention, I'm not mentioning the values, but you should mention the values, because if I start mentioning values, you could almost say exactly what I say. Who feels like they could write a decent report on this right now, or a decent, 3 to 5 strong sentences where you talk about these values, you mention their differences, you talk about the things you find interesting, but first and foremost, you need to be mentioning the values. If you're going to talk about a difference, find that difference. Like, subtract to the numbers and then talk about those values. You've got the differences between the females who have loans, the males who have loans. You've got the difference between the females who don't have loans, the males who don't have loans. You have kind of the global idea of the difference between these two groups right here. I'm feeling good. Exactly. And that's what you're going to be graded on. You're going to be graded on a lot. 1, your screenshot, and 2, your ability to write the report. So take a look right here. Your formatting. We do have the prepared by and our name in the title. Describe we've got the vertical and axis titles. We have a data table. So here's the biggest thing. Here's another issue people have. Do not. I will try to remind my graders to take off points for this. I am 100% for you losing points on this. What I want you to pretend is you have 2 people here. I'll explain what I'm talking about. I'm going to try to communicate this as best I can. And I want you to say you are going to Brian's presentation here. And here's Brian's presentation. I want you to see this as best I can. I want to communicate this so I don't have as many people making this error. If you're watching this video, you should not make this error. You'll see it here in a second. So I will show you person 1, and I'll show you person 2. Okay. Here we go. Start to the main screen. Let me even put a segment in the video right here. Okay. We're going to call this segment What to Screenshot. Okay. So with this segment being What to Screenshot, I want you to take a look. How does this look in my PowerPoint presentation? Wow, it looks even worse than I thought. Do I know the right slides up? How does this look? Oh, it's in a widescreen shot. How does this look? I'm having a hard time making it look perfect. How does this look in my PowerPoint presentation? It looks rough, right? That looks pretty rough right there. But how does, give me a second. I have to go over to slides we have currently open. How does it'll be worth it. Oh, you're watching it. How does this look? So how does this look in a presentation right here? Better, right? Can we pop page? Yes. So once again, I want to make this super, super clear. Where's that previous one I opened? I want to make this as clear. I was trying to make it so you would only see it at one time. So I want to make this as clear as possible. When you are doing your presentation, oh, that's the one I want. I made crazy. When you are doing your presentation or when you're putting in these graphics, see, it doesn't even want it. There we go. Is this, I did a bad job again. There we go. Wait, go away. There we go. Is this how it should look? Which of these is how your screenshot should look? 1 or 2? 1 or 2? How should your screenshot look? Sarah knows right there. No rough screenshots. Should it look like 1 or 2? So what should you have in your screenshot only? What should you have in your screenshot only? Only have the what? Only the chart. Only the chart. Only the chart. No table. Why should you not include the table in your image? Why should you not include the table? Which you'd say, isn't that the table? No, that's part of the chart right there. Why should you only have the chart and not the table? Why should you only have the chart and not the table? Just think, you'd say, well, that's numbers, Brian. The table, the chart already has it comes with it. It has the values. So we don't need that anymore. It's kind of it's a stepping stone to get us where we need to be, because it was Leo gave the right answer right there. I like Leo's answer because the rubric says so. Because the rubric says so. Cluttered. Yeah, we don't want it cluttered. So the rubric says don't do that. Don't do that. That's the best answer right there. Rubric says don't do that. Don't do that. So this is a very common error. People do lose points on this because the screenshot's often like this right here. Don't do a screenshot like this. Do your screenshot like this. Only the chart. So once again, if you're wondering what it'll look like inside your Word document. Oh, because I don't have the thing over there. That's why. I don't have the time later on the other screen. It'll look like this. Now, don't draw on it like I drew on it. It'll look like that. That's what it'll look like. If you have a screenshot that looks something like this, you are probably doing it correctly. So now we get to the fun one. Who has that first pivot chart done? Who thinks they're done with their first pivot chart? You were probably writing it up in the background while I was talking about it. You're like, psh, I'm doing that write-up right now, Brian. I'm talking about those differences. Sarah Grace, great job right there. Emma, done. Got it. Another 100 points. So now it's time for pivot chart number 2. Let's take a timestamp right here. Huge thank you for everyone who's here right here working on number 2. So second pivot chart. I am using different data to do this, so you cannot follow what I do. Ha ha ha. But you can follow the theory of what I do. So let's go over here and check out that second pivot chart. Here we go. So I am using data you will not be using. You will use the data that you have, but I am doing theoretically the same ideas. Once again, we see that we have quantitative and categorical data. Not that many categoricals, just these categoricals, and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of quantitatives. Kind of limits my ability to do certain things, but we'll take a look at it right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's first do our first step. Let's hit, same steps as before, Control or Command A. Control A on a PC, Command A on a Mac. With Control or Command A now pressed, we've selected all the data. Now that we've selected all the data with Control or Command A, we're going to go here to Insert Pivot Table. Remember, this is just a step to get us going and to get the data analyzed to start. So pivot charts use 3 variables. They can use 2 or 4 or 5. The minimum requirement for a pivot table is 1 variable. Let's take a look at that right here. Let's go ahead and click Pivot Table. I don't want to learn more. And let's click OK. So now that we have our pivot table, the very first thing to choose, just like last time, and this is why it only requires 1, is the what. The very first thing to choose will be the what that we are going to display, just like last time. This is probably the most important thing to choose. The very first thing to choose whenever we make a pivot table or pivot chart will be the what we're going to display. And this is why we actually only need 1 to make a pivot chart or table. The values, great job, Sarah, right there. So now make sure to follow the instructions. The instructions tell us for the second one, we need to make sure we choose a quantitative variable to display. And then we also need to display, I believe, the average of it. So right here, it says we need 1 quantitative variables in the values, which is the value we are displaying. And then we need to display the average. What will I need to change when I input my quantitative variable? Remember, the value field also has a what. What will I need to change? Oh, I've still got this up. What will I need to change about the quantitative variable in the value field? I'll need to change something about the value field. So let's go look at that. So let's go look at how funny people think they are. The settings, great job. Well, let me ask you, which one do you think we should look at? We've got tattoos, piercings, video games, percent dateable. Notice how I'm skipping handedness because that's not quantitative. We've got funnier, athletic, intelligent. Someone pick for us so I don't pick because it's more fun when someone else picks and then we say, well, what do we get? We got height, weight, desired weight, GPA, tattoos. Let's go to tattoos. So we're going to go here to number of tattoos. There we go. And so what does this mean? Let's just look at that value and understand what it means. So look at what this is telling us, and then what does that mean? So we could make a pivot chart from this right away. So technically, we could do texting or tips. Yeah, those are great too. We have tattoos. What does this mean right here? What does that mean? 164, sum of tattoos, sum of num tattoos. What does that mean? This is a survey of students. So what does this mean? What does that value mean right there? We always understand, what does that value tell us? Of all of our students surveyed, we surveyed a bunch of students. Not a good answer, Troy. Good answer, Leo. Not that 164 people have tattoos. It's that of all the people we surveyed, 164 people had tattoos. Why doesn't field show up on mine? Make sure to click inside the table. So make sure you're clicked inside the table. If you're not clicked inside the table, you won't see the fields right here. So make sure you're clicked inside the table. Oh, I'm using a different survey. You will not have the tattoos. So I'm using a completely different survey, so you can't do exactly what I'm doing. But you want to pick a quantitative one. Of the students surveyed, there are, Emma, perfect answer. Of the students surveyed, there was 164 total tattoos. Exactly. So what about if we look at this, though? How about if I go to value field setting, and for the value field setting, I change it to be, let's find out, max. Oh, man, I thought it would be a little bit higher than that. What does this mean? We'll interpret one more of these because we could look at this. This is not the one we're doing. This is not the answer we're looking for right here. But what does that mean? What does that communicate to us? There are at least one person who what? Because this is the what value. So what does that communicate to us? We're always saying, well, what this right now is max of num tattoos. There is at least one person that the most tattoos people had in the survey was 6. The maximum reported number of tattoos was at least one person who said 6. There could be a bunch, everyone could have 6 tattoos for all we know. It wouldn't mathematically sum up to what we had, though. The person or people, technically, Emma, good answers right there, because there could be 2 people with the maximum value, or 3 or 4. But the highest amount of tattoos were people or person who reported 6 tattoos. The minimum would be 0, so that's kind of boring. Let's go over here and change it to what the question asks for and go here and do average. So once again, I do want to show, I'm clicking on this. It's an I on the Mac, and then go to value field setting. Under value field setting, I'm just clicking here to average. So we're just going to click average, and it kind of makes sense. Most people don't have tattoos. If you have a tattoo, hey. But it's kind of like one of those things, like if you have a tattoo, a lot of times people have more tattoos than one. At least from my experience with talking to people who have tattoos, they're like, oh, I got a tattoo, and I got like another one, then I got a sleeve, and then I just like got tattoos everywhere. So it's pretty interesting to me. And it showed div 0, where the value should be. Sarah, what variable are you using? I think I might know the issue. What variable? Because if you tell me your variable, I think that might tell me the issue. Which variable are you using? And then I'll explain why. Because I think I know what the issue is. Oh, the decimal thing again. And then we'll see. I'll try to fix Sarah's problem here via the internet. The internet fixing problems. I think you're using a categorical variable, Sarah. I think your variable is categorical. Ah, yes, it's categorical. Your variable is categorical, and it says, I cannot find you averages for a categorical variable. So make sure it's quantitative, like how many tattoos do you have? Where categorical, we cannot do. So Sarah, thank you so much for following along and practicing right here. Yep. So you have a categorical variable, and we can't find the average for a categorical variable. Now you can use that in a moment right here, but currently you cannot use it for the values because we want a quantitative one where we can take the average. Good, Sarah, great little, practice right there. Make sure we have it. Number of pets is correct. And then we're going to click right here, and we're going to delete those decimals down like we did before. I'm going to pause on what I'm doing. So we're going to go down and delete the decimals here. Remember, we click it, then we go to home, and then we go to delete decimals. So once again, you click it, you go to home, and then you go to delete the decimals to what you think is appropriate. A lot of times 2 decimals is appropriate. So the average person has 0.23 tattoos. That's what that's telling us right now. The average person has 0.23 tattoos. You could do pets in that format too. A lot of things, like especially money, would be in that format. GPA especially. I might even include a thousandths on a GPA because like 3.48, 3.488. That's a little bit higher. Like especially when you get to like the 3.9s, which I was nowhere near. 3.944 is a little bit higher. So it depends. Do not include decimals that look like that. Do not include decimals that look like that. There's kind of that like just right zone. Like so maybe that's okay. I like that. Maybe that's okay. That's a little bit too much. So you want to find that right amount and just think about how you would communicate it to somebody. And only you will know by looking at what you're reporting about, especially if it's something like average kids or something. You don't have to use whole numbers because remember, these are averages. So including the decimal is important when talking about averages. It's not, even if it's something like how many kids do people want to have, you wouldn't just round it to 2 if it's 2.4 because that's on average people would want 2.4 kids. Don't round that down to 2 to make it a whole number. So with this right here, we've got our decimals reported nice and neat. So now we need to divide by 2 categorical variables. So here, Sarah, this is where the smoked weed question can come into play because you can use that in your what's or what. Those categorical variables will be used in your what's or what's right here. You can use those categorical variables to divide it and split into groups. And we could just display one variable, or we could start to add a multivariable display. And we don't have to do rows and columns. We will for this, though. So you are for this assignment required to do it. But we are going to put in the rows or the columns, things to split it apart by categorical. So here's a big thing. And Emma, this is huge right here. We need to use categorical variables. And I'm going to do it the wrong way right here to start. This right here will lose you points. That will lose you points. Why will this lose you points? Because this is what? Just put one letter in the chat. Why will this lose you tons of points right here if you do your graphic this way? And I want to show what this looks like. If you do your graphic this way, you will lose points. And I'm going to make it real quick right here. If you see something like this, you are going to lose points. If you see something like this, you are going to lose points. This is, I have made an error. Something's wrong because we need right here, for the rows and columns, we don't want quantitative. For the rows and columns, we don't want quantitative. That's the error this person made. For the rows and columns, we're going to split it apart by a what variable? And that right there is a one variable display. For the rows and columns, we're going to split it apart by what? For the rows and columns, We want categories to split it. We're going to split it apart by categorical variables. Categorical, great job. So that's where you can use like the smoked weed question, because that's going to split apart by categories like yes, no. So now we're going to go here and we're going to take things like, I don't have that many to select from, gender, because this survey is rather limited on the categoricals. So there's gender. And then we also have, I thought I saw one more, significant other. Okay. So now I have it split apart by, do people have a significant other? Yes, no, and their gender. So now I have my table the way I want it. I put in two categorical variables, categorical, quantitative y average. Check your work right here. Categorical, yes, and then quantitative y right here. This is where you should be at with a categorical, and then quantitative. And you'll know it's categorical by seeing the groups right here. So you should see words right here. And then you should see values that are displayed to a good decimal format in here that are averages. And if you're at this point, you are doing your graphic correctly. So now, think about this. What do you think is my next step right here? I've got my table the way I want it. Who can instruct me on the next step? What would be the next step? Who knows the, like, okay, from here, we should do this with it. And remember, we will kind of never use that again after this. From here, we should do what with this? What do you think we should do with this now? We should probably add the chart. Priya, great job right there. So we're going to click right here inside of it, and then we're going to go to Pivot Table Analyze and click on Pivot Chart. Make sure you're clicked inside of Pivot Table Analyze, and then go to Pivot Chart, and we can click the first option. So I'm going to pause right here, click inside the table, go to Pivot Table Analyze, and go to Pivot Chart. And now that we've done this, we have our pivot chart. Now remember, we've got a quick way to make this look all nice and neat right here. Our quick way to make this look all nice and neat is to go here to Design and make sure you're clicked inside the chart. You'll only see this window if you're clicked inside the chart. You might have to scroll over at the top, but it should be up here with clicked inside the chart. And once you go over to Design, you'll see the option under Quick Layout to choose this one. That's my favorite one right there. It pretty much gives you everything except one thing down here on the bottom. So I've got it paused on the screen on Design, Quick Layout, second row, second column, and you should see a format like this, which pretty much has everything we need except for the horizontal axis title. So now we need to go here to the Add Chart Elements button. Under the Add Charts Element button, we'll go to Axis Title, and we'll go to Primary Horizontal, which is the X-axis title. And so if you see you have both axis titles, a chart title, and a data table, you have all of the elements you need in your table. Do this check right now. Have I split it apart by categories? Yes. Like, do you see categories right there? Not numbers. Good. Is this an average thing? Well, you can look at your table too to confirm. This should be an average for the groups, not a sum, not a count. Make sure you have an averages, and that can be also confirmed over here by seeing averages. So if you see averages over there, you're good. Should not say sum or count. Go check the value field setting or earlier in this video on how to change that if you have sum or counts for this. If you have counts, it's probably categorical. You need a quantitative. Last thing to check right here is that we have our axis titles and we have our chart title. From here, I'm just going to fill this information out. So this is going to be, let's say, make sure to say average in here. Average number tattoos. Average number tattoos. And then this right here is gender. And then we can say average number of tattoos by gender and significant other. And prepared by Steven. What I might actually do, I'm gonna make one executive decision here. I'm gonna switch, and I'll tell you why. I'm gonna switch the gender and significant other because, so you can do that, because I think that's a little more obvious what the variable is. I'm going to say significant other. So I just took the variables and flip-flopped them here. And I also think it points to more of a difference. That's pretty, this graphic says something pretty quickly to me right here. What do you notice about people right here when they have a significant other? So what do you notice pretty quickly about this? Remember, we're going to screenshot this. So let's go take a nice screenshot of it. What do you notice about people who have significant others? Which we could, remember, quote those differences. What do you notice about people who have significant others? So take a look at, we have females right here. They have more tattoos. Yeah, look at the difference. We probably want to quantify that difference to say something like, we do see that females and males who have significant others have a difference, a small but interesting difference of the number of tattoos they have. Where females who have significant others on average have 0.14 more tattoos than their non-significant other counterparts, and males on average have 0.08. While these differences are small, it's interesting to notice. How did you flip them? Make sure to just grab the variables right here, click inside your table. Oh, excuse me, the table. Oh, where's the, if this goes away, you have to go over here to, should be the field list. Here we go. If you don't see that, you have to click field list. That's a common thing that happens. And you just need to grab and flip-flop. Does that make sense, Priya, right there? To flip-flop them, you need to grab the variable and just move here, and then grab this variable and move here. So you just take one variable here, and let me zoom in while I'm showing this. You just want to take the variable here and flip it, and take the variable here and flip it. There might actually be a quick way. No, there's no quick way. You have to just go bloop, bloop, and then just flip them around. Just grab one variable, move it here, grab the other variable, move it here. And the important thing to know is your graphics should look something. Oh, did we lose the other graphic? Where did our other graphic go? Your graphics should look something like this right here. Now, don't draw on it like I've drawn on it, but your graphics should look something like this. How is everyone feeling? I have to go here in 2 minutes for a meeting, but how are people feeling? Do people feel pretty confident in their answers? Or are people thinking, I've got some work I think that follows along? Like, I've created graphics that look a lot like this, where it's split up by categories, reviewing down here the averages, and I'm going to mention values in my report. I'm going to talk about interesting differences. I'm going to write 3 to 5 strong sentences. Good job right there, Leo. So once again, I think the pivot assignment, I think it's pretty fun and pretty interesting. I like analyzing stuff like this, and it's a good way to use Excel to communicate ideas. So if you are stuck at any point, please let me know. We got a lot of walkthroughs, but this one is it okay if I did economic political view and had 4? Yeah, exactly, Barrett. Great work right there. Yep. Some questions will have more than 2 answers. Do we have to, you might have to relabel. Good answer right there, Priya. I did have to relabel this right here. It made more sense to me that male and female pretty much says what it is right there, but the significant other I thought made more sense to have on this axis, and I also found this difference to be a little bit more interesting. So you can flip-flop them to a preference. Make sure it's then labeled properly. If you do flip-flop, you might have to relabel like I was doing. Just make sure your graphic accurately communicates what you're trying to tell somebody. Could you give somebody this graphic and they'd be able to make insights from it? Remember, you're going to write the insights for it by mentioning the values, but could you give the insights? Could you tell somebody what's going on? That is the big question when it comes down to it. And we'll be back. If you have questions, let me know. It is time, everyone. Whoops. Bye for now. Email me if you're stuck. Let me know. You got this, everyone. Good job. Bye.